Hey guys, it's another day in revival, so it's time to do a daily. Just as a reminder, I'm wearing the Twist Off shirt coming up first, second week in November. Buy your Twist Off tickets. So this is the rear differential / rear suspension out of my 1968 Jag E-type. For those of you who don't know, well, I've had this car for like 15 years, and I rebuilt this whole system 15 years ago. Who knows how many miles it has on it, but more importantly, the rear brake calipers on it locked up. I've procrastinated for 3 or 4 years, and finally the other day, because we kind of need the car lift to do other car projects that we've got pending here, I decided to finally pull the rear end out of that car so we could fix the brakes and put it back together. I thought this was a good opportunity to talk a little bit about what makes this so cool. Now, first of all, this is upside down, so you could probably tell this is the bottom of everything. It should be the other way around. It bolts into the car with essentially 8 bolts. This is what they call the cage that holds the system. Rubber-mounted isolators that mount to the frame of the car. E-types are, as you probably know, unibody construction with big, huge frame cowls on the side, so you have to step in to the car. The door sills are huge. And then the way the frame comes up into the back, it's just this cage. This just bolts straight out of it. You unhook the drive shaft, you unhook the brake line and the emergency brake, and these 2 trailing arms, and it unbolts. So like I said, it is about 15 years ago. I rebuilt everything in it, including the bushings and the brakes and all that, upgraded quite a bit of this. So the calipers that are on here are off of what was the front brakes of the car. They bolt into the rear carriers. I upgraded the front brakes to Wilwood aluminum 4-piston calipers. And then I upgraded to these adjustable Alden shocks that are now worn out and need to be rebuilt. What I wanted to show you was the brake calipers and the brake rotors are next to the differential. And what that does is it takes all that heavy cast iron weight and puts it to the inboard of the suspension. So in other words, out here, we've got a lightweight aluminum carrier, and we've got an A-arm that holds it, and then, of course, the coilover springs and shocks that suspend the whole system. We've got a half shaft that bolts out through it. And this is a big deal. This is all kind of designed in the D-types and into the E-types in the early 60s. This was the only car at the time that had 4-wheel disc brakes that was standard. 62 Jaguar E-type kind of destroyed every other car on the road. It would go 150 miles an hour. That's why they called it the XK 150. Or what we call the XKE. And then, of course, the Brits also called it the E-type, Jag. I'm going to pull this apart, and we'll come back in a minute and tell you a little bit more about it. But I've got to remove the shocks, remove the calipers, and start to tear them down and kind of go through them. In the meantime, I actually want to show you guys what Chris Davis is doing over here, which is pretty kick-ass. We were just talking about this. Chris.
Hi.
So, daily around here, what ends up happening is Chris is our head mechanic, engine builder / good-looking extraordinaire.
Don't forget plumber.
And plumber. He's our plumber. He's in-house plumber. Not a real classically trained plumber, more of an artistic plumber, really. Wouldn't you say?
I would say so, yeah.
He's over here not working on plumbing this time. He's working on timing on a Vincent. What year is this, Vincent?
4951.
It's 49 Rapide.
We've got a couple of Vincents in the shop right now, so I have a hard time.
It's hard to keep up
track.
with all our Vincents. Don't we sound so
conceited
and douchey? Anyway, so I've seen over the last couple of days, you've put this thing together and you've taken it apart. Can you describe and kind of go into and show me what you're working on?
Yeah, exactly. It's been together and apart quite a few times. I think it was put together from a bunch of other motorcycles and it's been worked on by other people. So every time I go to put something together, it doesn't fit quite right.
Kind of a bit. So we bought this thing at auction for a client for really cheap money. I think it was 30 grand. And we did get it running, but it never ran quite right.
Yeah, starting with the lack of compression in the front cylinder, and it was always really hard to start. We've rebuilt the magneto on it previously, added a different capacitor. But this last time, I wanted to double check the cam timing because cam timing on this can be kind of tricky. I did find the front camshaft was a little bit worn, and I think it was about 2 teeth off. So I've spent a lot of time just using dial indicators, checking valve lift, and then opening and closing points of the valves, and then seeing how that corresponds with the timing marks that were on it previously, setting each cylinder individually, and then setting the magneto timing. So it's actually very close right now, and what I ran into is installing this tie plate.
So this is a tie plate that holds essentially the whole timing bit together. What's the problem?
So at some point in its history, someone made this tie plate, and the holes weren't perfectly
aligned where it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what was happening is the tie plate was forcing the camshaft out of alignment with the idler gear, and it was causing some bad wear on the idler gear, and then also caused these press fit pins that locate the camshaft and the cam followers, the entire timing chest, and they were all loose.
And where these holes were extremely important, where they're supposed to be anyway. And that kind of screwed everything up. Who in the world thought they could just hack that together?
It was close. It just wasn't right.
So often that we uncover mechanic work where someone was just close enough to get it to run, but not precise enough to make it operate well
And last a long time.
With any level of durability.
Yeah.
I mean, so essentially, we're talking about a complete engine disassembly to get it right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then resetting all the, I just forgot the name of them, but the shafts that locate the camshafts and the followers, making sure they're the right depth, because the other thing that this plate does,
Well, lines it.
it sets how much float there is in the cams and the followers to make sure there's enough room for oil to get through and not too tight to bind. So it's really important for making it work.
So now what we do is we go back to the client and we say, hey, we know this bike was a bargain. Do you want to drop 5-10 grand on it because it's what it's going to cost to take it apart and fix it correctly? Or do you want us to try to do what this guy did, which is improvise a little bit? And maybe we improvise, maybe we don't. He's got a couple other Vincents, so he may not care. But bummer. That's why it's gone together and come apart, as you're diagnosing the 10 different issues that it has because of this.
Yeah, fix 2 problems and find one more every time.
I think more importantly, the thing I would tell anybody that's watching this video is that, I've said this before, it takes an extremely patient mentality to get through these things, and you have to see them as every problem is a problem worth solving, and we'll probably uncover another one. And if you don't have that, that's almost no point in trying. You have to know that you'll get it done one step at a time.
Yeah, this morning I absolutely intended to be bolting up the cover right now and then starting it in the next hour.
But then you discovered that.
Then I discovered that shaft, and now it looks like it's all back apart again.
It does kind of looks like it came apart. It's hard to ask when you come by and you're not working on something. It's hard to be encouraging by going, hey, so what's going on with this? Because what you really want to know is what's happening. I'm curious, but it also ends up sounding like, why isn't this fixed yet? Because it's a piece of crap. It's a really cool bike that needs some serious love.
It's a really cool bike.
It is a really cool bike. I'd like to own it. And I like that it's kind of crusty.
And I'm excited. I think it's going to run significantly better than it's ever run. We also installed the brand new carburetors on it.
Yeah. If it runs as good as that other one, the other Rapide, then it'll be great.
I think it will.
All right, well, let me know if I can help anymore.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
I'll let you know if I find that red one.
I'm going to go take the Jaguar end apart. Yeah. We're going to put that red one. Make sure you put the red one in the right place, okay? Bye.
Bye.
Where's that red one gonna go? Done. How interesting. Bizarre.